McGuire says Custer was arrested by Terry's order twice before got to Powder River for trying to advance too far ahead of column with escort and without permission. 3 companies made a scout up Little Missouri River under Custer himself. Reno's scout out 12 days. C Troop was along. Thinks B Troop along. Also D crossed Divide. Hit Powder and Tongue and then crossed Divide. Hit Tongue and Rosebud. 2 Gatling guns along. There were a few infantrymen with the Gatlings. Each Gatling hauled by 4 horses. At some of the ravines had to unlimber guns and unhitch horses and haul over by hand. Passed over very rough ground, rougher than they found beyond Rosebud. At one time, men lifting and pulling guns got tired and gave up, and other men had to be sent back to get them up. They were abandoned only temporarily at any time. Never were abandoned with thought of leaving them. Thinks it a great misfortune were not taken to Little Bighorn, as ground was not nearly so rough as had been back on Reno's scout. On Reno's scout, one of B Troop's pack mules fell down in the water and spoiled the provisions, and this is one reason why ran short of rations, ran out of provisions, and thought would starve, before found Custer and rest of regiment. Left band at Powder River and took horses to go on expedition to Little Bighorn. Hardtack, which fell off mule on night of June 24th. Says reason Sioux scouts broke into boxes was to carry back hardtack as trophies, to show their chiefs how close they got to soldiers. Saw where Indians had killed buffalo on Rosebud, and Mitch Bouyer, too, told him that Indians had herded buffalo ahead of them, and that such was reason for such a big trail, which in some places was spread out all over the country. Says Custer had kept Bouyer ahead of column all along. Bouyer said he had told Custer there must be a very large village ahead, and Custer said, "Show them to me," meaning he would believe it only after he would see them. Mitch Bouyer was a good trailer. Had lived among Sioux in boyhood, was about 30 years old. Bouyer told McGuire that from what he saw of signs, Indians must be very thick ahead of them. Said, "There are too many for this outfit, and if we get up to them, they will recognize me, and that will be the last of Bouyer. Nevertheless, I have been drawing $10 per day from the government and intend to stick it out." Thinks there were 30 Rees. Saw them go back with herd of Sioux ponies, and no officer with pack train tried to stop them. Says that when pack train 3 got up, all was in confusion with all 6 troops there with Reno and Benteen. Did pack train start toward Custer when Godfrey, Benteen, and others moved down that way? Yes, went to top a ridge, where could see Weir out ahead. Did he see any ammunition boxes opened while waiting to start? No. Says several times Indians got close enough to fortifications to shoot arrows and throw stones into the lines. After being wounded, went down to hospital, where the wounded were placed under a fly tent. Every little while a bullet would go whizzing through the tent, and it seemed to me that the wounded were in as much danger of being struck again as they would be on the line. Point out on map where ammunition mule got loose? Yes, back on trail, which was south of Custer's trail as explained by McDougal. Catching the pack mule, the mule started back on the trail. McGuire was just then tying Hanley's horse, and Hanley said, "Where is my horse?" I said, "I have him here." I then threw the reins over the horse's head, and Hanley rode off after the mule, and I went on foot. Hanley got around on the flank, and the mule turned him my way. When the mule saw he was being headed off, he turned and ran back into the herd. Neither Hanley nor I got our hands on him. 4. Says when Peter Thompson came back, Sioux were already firing, and McGuire said to those around him, "Don't fire, there comes Thompson with his horse." 5 Thompson came along with his horse, and as he approached, McGuire said, "Thompson, hand me your horse. I have room on my line." Just as he handed him to me, the horse was struck on the left flank near the heart and almost instantly killed. McGuire says he heard the story Thompson told about Bill Jackson and Stirrup gone, but thinks it might have been Bob Jackson instead of Bill. McGuire says he saw Peter Thompson go for water after being wounded and before wound was dressed. He went early in forenoon on June 26th, Was there any particular reason for Thompson and Watson keeping still about their manner of escape? Yes, the company filled up with new men in the fall who would not understand such discussions, and the old men never said much about questions of this kind. McGuire says that among C Troop men, it was always the opinion that John Brennan and John Fitzgerald fell back from Custer's 5 troops out of cowardice, and in that way did not get into the fight. Says that they often joked about it afterward. On boat going down there were 51 wounded white men and 1 Indian, White Swan. Heard of Nathan Short. He got good distance toward Rosebud. Had bobtailed horse. Only bobtailed horse and company. Had initials on cartridge belt.